Hey, let me do a check-in for Just North of Nowhere, which, because it's an ebook, I don't usually find any kind of natural places to just sort of stop and say, "Hey, let me talk about this book." Um, it's definitely it's a collection of stories that are all centered around a central area. There are some the stories share characters from book to book. Uh, we've had one of it's really varied. We had this the one before the story I'm probably going to talk about has been a Little League team that is just really terrible. And Ruth Potter, who we've met before, meeting going back in time to meet not going back in time, going to an alternate place through photographic plates done by Burroughs, a famous wealthy photographer who lived just outside of town in a mansion, and has left all the photographic plates to the library. She's able to go through them into alternate universes to meet people, and she meets Winston Churchill, Winston Spencer. I think it's Winston Spencer Churchill, before he is Sir Winston Churchill. Um, Before he's just doing a speaking tour of the states, and he happened to come by Bluffington, and she gets to meet him and talk to him, and tell him about stuff. But this isn't time travel. We're quite insistent. This is an alternate little universe here. And so in this next story, she sees this baseball team of kids who are they're the worst. They've never won a game, and she says, I just want each one for like 10 minutes a day. And what she does, what get revealed in the story, is she takes them back to when the Chicago White Stockings came by in 1901 and played the Lumberjacks or something like that, the local baseball team of amateurs. And it sort of inspires them to be mean, to 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 kind of spit and curse and cheat. They're not any better, but when she takes back their coach, Jill, can't remember her full name, she sees like, oh, you've gotten all their attitude, but none of their attitude and maybe their passion, but none of their talent. And she's sort of able to kind of turn the kids back to kind of a little bit better. One of the other kids there is Roy. Roy, who we've seen in stories before, is the kid whose ability is to see monsters, and Leslie, who is a witch, and his friend. She wants to be a witch. She's kind of gone up to Christabel, and he refuses to go in because he sees all the monsters, and he says like they brought back monsters with them, and it's like in some ways it's like the psychic stuff. She's able to kind of turn them and get them, get them, um, kind of get back to more positive stuff. But there's this odd thing of like, the secret to being great is to have like one mean thing that you protect, that you're really hard about. Um, and it does actually help them in a way. They don't win the next game, the very last game of the thing, but they do okay. They do a couple of things, and they end up having fun because after being real shits and really mean crap, kids that Jill didn't want to really know anymore. It's like, oh no, he actually kind of got wrestled them back, and she's like, well, I'm probably not going to be coach anymore, but I'd like to coach them again. Um, and then we have this really kind of dark story, which is the boy is Clem and the clown. What's it called? Um, Chapter 18. Do you know of the land of death? The clown said one night to the haunted boy. And the haunted boy is haunted by this clown, which seems to kind of come from a father taking Clem to a circus, and there being some kind of a horrible thing where this clown was blown apart out of this what's supposed to be a trick trick cannon, actually blew him apart. It's all shown very fantastically, so you're never quite sure exactly how much of this is real or not. And indeed, the clown inhabits the boy, who starts getting through the story, gets kind of taken over by this clown, uh, pulls the chair away from his grandfather, who falls back, strikes his head, and dies. His father had died in the intervening years through sounds like an aneurysm. There's an aneurysm party, which is probably the wake for the father. Um, and the fate of the mother, and him at the end's like, oh no, I want everybody to be in the land of death. And he starts listing his friend's dog, everybody. And then once I've got everybody in the land of death, then I will go there myself. Which is like, okay, this is origin story for kind of a killer, which is yeah, pretty pretty freaking scary. Yeah. Oh yeah. The baseball thing is like, yeah. It's chapter 17, the ephus pitch, which is a pitch which is it's so incredibly slow and has such a high arc that people will completely miss, and Roy accidentally or does start doing that. And yeah, that's the consolidated catbirds, the hang and the yes, because in that baseball game, the last play, Roy hit who's the statistician of the team, but he's said no, everyone's going to play, everyone's going to switch out and play all positions, and you're going to play. And Roy does the pitch, and he also hits the ball, and he hits the ball, and it just sticks in the sky and just stays there, and people stare at it and stare at it, and it's not coming down, and everyone's standing underneath it. And it's like, okay, go and run the bases, Roy, and make sure you tag up. And he actually gets a home. It's counted as a home run in the statistics. They show the statistics, which are probably important to Roy, um, and it stays there until they finally pay somebody to go and shoot it to bits, so it's not no longer there in the story, which is a good little detail. Oh, and there's a Gollum story, Danny's Mud, where Bunch, the town troll, he hears screeching noises, and he sees these two cars zipping away from the drive-in, and it's like, what the hell? And it was a rabbi and a priest, Father Joe and Rabbi, I can't remember what the rabbi's name is, but they made a golem. The rabbi made a golem, and it it indeed um, it indeed it has come to life. And it's like, but it was around. He felt it. Bunch felt it. It moved somewhere off in the morning, looking for darkness, he figured. Yeah. Yeah. So it's this yeah, the creature moved to the man, bent to him, moved the mist away from him. He had color, shape, was warm. A thing beat inside him. It was heart. The creature searched inside itself. No heart. It's like, oh boy. So yes, that there's the Gollum story. Um, yeah, there's one. It's called chapter 15. It's called the Whor's Revenge, Hoor, which is all about how a they end up the cop of the town, Vinnie Erickson, has to prosecute a family friend's son uh, for 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 rape, um, and or was it a murder? Murder, actually, is murder and rape. Um, and Yeah, and it's like the facts of the case were these: a popular high school cheerleader named of Sally Friedlander was found sliced to death in her own yard. Sally's mom found her morning after. Sally's corpse showed evidence of some rough fore during and after play: broken jaw, gouged eyes, choking bruises on her neck, a couple of busted bones. Uh, and yeah, it turned out. Yeah, and the thing about this story is it's one of these stories where you can tell it's written maybe by an older author at a different time in our history, though it's 2007. It's like there had been some sex. The post-mortem revealed that. Most everyone assumed it. This was Sally Friedlander, after all. No one boyfriend. Sally was a regularly dating senior, junior, and sophomore classes. So it's like, oh, of course, she had had sex. Kind of, there's, and it's like, you know, it's like she was adopted. The Friedlanders are not rich, but they weren't poor. Dad sold cars, mom stayed home. Sally was their life. Now she was meat, and it is one of these things of the story is Sally is sort of meat for this story. Um, she is and only is the victim, and it's Junior Cowell who is the guy who they figure is the is the guy who did the crime. Um, but it's one of these stories where it seems to kind of go back in time. There is a, and there's the really distasteful things of this case are that his lawyer tried to prove insanity. Junior kept saying it was self-defense. Half his team buddies agreed. A whore doesn't put out that's big time fuck you stuff. Guy's got to defend himself. The other half of the team just laughed to themselves, always figured Junior was a fag, that she hadn't refused him, but she probably couldn't handle all that women, probably couldn't handle knowing what a pussy he was. So we either get really, really atrocious misogyny of like, well, if you don't put out, then that's self-defense. You just gotta kill somebody, or it's like, oh, he obviously was. We'll go with homophobia if misogyny doesn't work. And but it comes down to this whole story seems to have sort of was a was echoes of kind of history of stuff that had happened before. And Vinny Erickson gets obsessed with this case, trying to figure out why it had happened, which, I mean, in some ways, with the kind of the stew there is, but it's basically that there was a guy named Lars Dengler who is a who is a past is an ancestor of Junior Cowling, and that there'd been an employee, Miss Carrie Gutenkisk, who is a sex worker from La Crosse, and took an axe to Lars, because he had basically been he had she took an axe to him, saying, but stood pleading self-defense, saying that her boss was being rough on her than it was absolutely necessary, and that basically they'd said, yeah, no, you're not allowed to do that, even if he was beating the hell out of you. It's no, we if we did that, then basically all women would have the right to would have the right to murder us all, which makes sense. But this seems to be this thing here that it's revenge on the line of the Dengler line, that Junior Cowling was the final one. And he takes this to his father, who's like, yeah, that's a pretty good story. However, we're all related. You probably are related to Dengler. Everybody in this town is related to everybody else, so he's hardly the last of the line. And but it's a story. Yeah. And there's this whole interplay here of Vinny, who is not maybe the smartest guy, really wanting to live up to his father who's kept him as the small town sheriff, where he's gone on to be larger in this thing. But yeah. Yeah. So that is, yeah, each one of these chapters is sort of another story, in this thing. Uh, some of them, some of them more, some of them more. memorable than others. Yeah, chapter 13 is the Winston Churchill chapter, and Ruth Potter, the librarian, who seems to be quite old. There's Fatty Borges and the Eternal Wisdom of Burma Shave, which, it's fatty. And this is the other thing we probably get in here is a lot of uh, you're fat, you're kind of automatically comedic kind of stuff, which definitely comes with writers of an older generation of like, oh, somebody is fat, hilarious. That definitely comes out in some of these stories, and one of these would be Fatty Borgos, of him mourning his dead father and snot running down his face and basically being really not being thing. And the Burma shave thing is there's an old Burma shave signs which were advertisements, and then they'd say, have them one after another. So like, we gladly dedicate to the men who've had no date of late Burma shave. And the words Burma shave are made of curly white letters on red painted wood. Words on the other signs are all white on red too, but they're regular. And and you'd pass on this highway and people would like read them and laugh and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, this is 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 Fatty trying to kind of, what do I say about that story? You see, these are ones that like less comes. This was like Bunch being hired to dig the grave, and him kind of trying to like get Fatty going again. Um, oh yeah, and there was a story about someone biting his father biting someone's tooth off, um, which is just bizarre little story there. And you know, the whole night at Township Hall, Daddy kept Albert's tooth safe and sound, and I ain't saying where he kept it. Then he walked home and kept the damn thing. Kept it in his sock drawer until he put it somewhere else. I got it now. See? Slow to anger, quick to grin, like I says. What's that? Bunch said. Burma sign. Daddy. Them Burma signs plain amused him. Fatty cocked his head towards the padlocked shack by the graveyard place. You come back after we put Daddy in the ground and fill that hole, and Yimmy, I'll show you a thing or three. Show you what used to be in Pop's keeping place. Frost on cake, pea cheese, pie cheese. Bunch nodded. Hell, it was too dark to see, but Fatty was laughing into the snow, fit to be tied. It's mostly notable for me for just like, a lot of the fat stuff in it. Um, so yes, we'll continue on with chapter 19, The Heart of Mr. Clay, next time. As always, the killer was early. He backed to the rental into the trees across the country blacktop from the entrance to the abandoned drive-in. The branches closed in around the windshield. He still had a view. Above the gate, the marquee sagged. He read, "Close for the sea. Free in." Some poets last forever, he said to the car. So, well, interested to see, will the killer be Clem from the last story? We're at the drive-in where the golem had been created by the Reverend and the Rabbi. Well, the Rabbi did most of the stuff. The Reverend was there to say, if you were Christian, I could tell you exactly what kind of sin you were in at the moment. I will leave it there. So that's Just North of Nowhere by Lawrence Santoro.